They're not watching you because they admire you. They're studying you. Every glance, every question, every compliment, it's data. And in this age of polished masks and hidden motives, your emotions are the map they use to control you. The modern world is not a marketplace of sincerity. It's a battlefield of psychology. And your kindness, your honesty, your openness are often the very weapons used against you. You are taught to be transparent, to be yourself, to give people the benefit of the doubt. But what if that's exactly what predators want? They don't attack your body. They target your confidence, your need for approval, your hesitation. They build invisible cages with smiles and small talk, and the more you explain yourself, the tighter the bars become. Niccolò Machiavelli once warned that a man who wishes to act entirely up to his profession of virtue soon meets with what destroys him. In other words, goodness without strategy is suicide. The Stoics knew this long before Machiavelli wrote The Prince. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire with mercy, but he never mistook mercy for weakness. Seneca preached calm, but behind that calm was calculation, the discipline to feel everything and yet reveal nothing. If you think virtue alone will protect you, you'll bleed for people who smile while they drain you. Because this isn't a world of fair fights. It's a world of psychological warfare, where manipulation wears the face of care and betrayal arrives dressed as loyalty. But here's the truth no one tells you. You don't need to become cruel to protect yourself. You need to become unreadable. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loud one, not the angry one, but the calm one. The one who sees everything, reacts to nothing, and lets silence do the talking. By the end of this, you won't just survive manipulators. You'll disarm them, without lifting a finger. You'll learn to turn their tactics against them, to control the tempo of every interaction, and to walk through chaos untouched. Because real power isn't in domination, it's in detachment. It's not about proving you're stronger, it's about showing you can't be moved. Welcome to True Stoic Way, where silence becomes strategy and your peace becomes your power. Manipulators don't thrive on power, they thrive on your reaction. Every sigh, every defensive tone, every anxious smile becomes fuel. Their entire strategy depends on psychological asymmetry. They act, you react. They provoke, you explain. They create chaos, and you try to restore balance. And in doing so, you play on their field. That's why the first rule of psychological warfare isn't to attack, it's to stop feeding them. To remove the one thing they need most, your emotional cooperation. Think of it like a chess game. The manipulator moves first, expecting you to counter. Every emotional move you make reveals your strategy, your priorities, your weak spots. But when you stop reacting, when you simply reflect what they give you, the game breaks. The manipulator can't play chess with a mirror. This is the mirror defense, the art of turning observation into armor. You don't match their aggression with aggression. You mirror it with calm precision. When they speak in riddles to confuse you, answer with silence. When they dig for emotional reactions, give them stillness. When they ask loaded questions like, "Why are you being distant?" repeat the question back. "Why do you think I'm being distant?" You don't take the bait. You reflect it back, neutral and unshaken. And here's the beauty of it. Mirrors don't give. They return. When someone tries to manipulate you, they expect control over your inner state. But when you become the mirror, they're suddenly forced to face their own reflection, their tone, their words, their intent. And most people can't stand seeing what they truly are. In real life, this looks subtle, but deadly. A coworker tries to provoke you in a meeting with sarcasm. You look at them, calm and silent, until the tension exposes them. A friend gives you a backhanded compliment. You're so confident it's almost intimidating. Instead of defending or laughing it off, you respond softly, almost, and hold eye contact. They'll feel their own trap close in. The point isn't to win the conversation. It's to collapse the illusion that they're leading it. You see, manipulators don't fear confrontation. They fear clarity. The mirror defense gives them exactly that, a cold reflection of their own behavior, stripped of the control they crave. Even your body can become part of this strategy. Control your breathing. Slow, steady, deliberate. Keep your tone low, unhurried. Don't fidget. Don't fill silences. Don't rush to reassure. Every second you stay still is a second they lose power. This isn't emotional suppression, it's emotional command. The Stoics called it apatheia, mastery over impulse. You're not hiding feelings. You're choosing when they deserve expression. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The mirror defense embodies that strength. It's not loud, not dramatic, but devastatingly effective. Because when they can no longer predict you, they can no longer use you. Remember this, manipulators only win when you play. Stop reacting. Start reflecting. Don't give them emotion. Give them their own energy back. And when they finally look into you and see themselves, they'll flinch. Not because you fought back, but because they've been exposed. Comment below, I see through the game. A manipulator's sharpest weapon isn't their words. It's your reaction to them. They read emotion like a scientist reads data. Every flicker of irritation, every hint of guilt, every defensive breath tells them exactly how to pull your strings next. This is how they win. Not through logic, but through decoding your emotions faster than you can control them. But what happens when you give them nothing to read? When you remove emotion from the equation, the manipulator's system collapses. They can't calculate what they can't measure. They lose the signal that guides their next move. That's when silence becomes your most sophisticated form of power. Become the vacuum, emotionless, yet fully aware. This isn't about being numb. It's about being so centered that no one can shake your core. You don't suppress your emotions, you master them. You feel everything, anger, hurt, disappointment, but you choose when, where, and if it deserves to leave your face. Here's what it looks like in action. When someone mocks you publicly, don't flinch, don't defend, don't joke back. Just look at them, calm, steady, silent. Let the air grow heavier with every second they try to draw you in. The longer you stay quiet, the louder their insecurity becomes. When someone tries to insult you to provoke a reaction, don't take the bait. Don't explain yourself. Don't say, "That's not true." Don't give them the data. Just breathe. Let their words bounce off your stillness. To the manipulator, silence feels like suffocation. They can't handle the uncertainty. They start to fill the space with more words, more excuses, more nervous laughter, exposing themselves as the ones who've lost control. This is the paradox of the emotion vacuum. Your calmness creates chaos, not around you, but within them. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus taught, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them." Your reaction determines whether someone's manipulation becomes your reality. The Stoic doesn't deny emotion. He simply refuses to let it lead. A Stoic feels deeply, but reveals nothing under pressure. His silence is not coldness, it's composure. His restraint is not fear, it's focus. When everyone else is reacting, he's observing. When everyone else is defending, he's deciding. And that's what makes silence such a weapon. It's a mirror they can't crack and a fog they can't navigate. You turn the battlefield upside down. Suddenly it's they who are exposed, and you who are unreadable. So the next time someone tries to draw you into emotional warfare, remember, they can't play a game if you don't move your pieces. Stand still. Stay quiet. Watch their strategy fall apart in the vacuum you've created. Stillness is not absence of power. It's the preparation of it. Speed kills thinking. That's not a cliché. It's a law of psychological combat. Manipulators manufacture urgency because urgency short-circuits judgment. When someone insists you answer now, they remove your ability to see the trap. Hasty replies reveal patterns, needs, and weaknesses. They're trying to force you to move on their timetable so they can predict you, exploit you, and then repeat the cycle. The antidote is simple and brutal. Delay with intent. Don't be hurried into choices that belong to you. Break their rhythm. Turn their tempo into your advantage. Timing is not neutral. It's a weapon. When you change the timing, you change the entire landscape of the interaction. How to use delay without appearing weak. Treat time like your resource, not theirs. When a demanding message arrives, can you do this right away? Resist the reflex to apologize and reply immediately. Wait a calculated interval, hours, a day, sometimes longer. Let the sender sit in their own expectation. They will start to show themselves, double texts, softened tones, anger, or, revealingly, an apology. All of those are information. Their panic is evidence of their dependence on your reaction. In person, delay is equally surgical. When confronted with a loaded accusation in a meeting, don't rush to defend. Breathe, take a slow sip of water and say, "Let me think about that." If pressed for an immediate decision, propose a specific disciplined delay. "I'll respond by Friday once I've reviewed the facts." That single line transfers urgency back to you and forces others to plan around your clock, not theirs. You don't decline. You schedule. You aren't avoidant. You are deliberate. Consider common scenes. A colleague throws a last-minute project on your plate and demands an instant commitment. A partner insists you decide about something emotional right now. A friend drops a crisis and expects you to manage it immediately. In all cases, the manipulator is testing whether you'll default to cliché responses, guilt, apologies, and instant compliance. Delay converts the test into a reveal. When you don't answer at their speed, their narrative unravels. They either adjust and reveal respect for your boundaries, or escalate and reveal insecurity and control tactics. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Time is the ruler's secret ally. He counseled that striking at the right moment matters more than striking first. The wise leader waits until an opponent has exposed weakness, until the tide of events has produced clarity. You're not waiting because you're unsure. You're waiting because time is part of your strategy. You are choosing the moment that maximizes your leverage. This dovetails perfectly with Stoic practice. The Stoics taught mastery over impulses, to respond only when reason, not reaction, dictates the moment. Control what you can, they said, and your timing is one of the few things you can always control. When you delay, you reclaim the narrative. You convert urgency into analysis. You force the manipulator to operate without the advantage of your immediate emotions. Practical rules for strategic delay. Set explicit response windows for texts and emails. Make your availability predictable on your terms. Use neutral scheduling language in person. "I'll return to this in 2 days." When pressured, ask a single clarifying question rather than an immediate answer. It buys time and demands specificity. Avoid unnecessary apologies for your delay. Silence or calm scheduling is enough. Document decisions and keep timelines visible. It shows you're deliberate, not reactive. Delay is not passive avoidance. It's active governance of your attention and your life. It takes patience and practice, but once timing becomes part of your discipline, manipulators lose their preferred weapon. Their manufactured urgency becomes an exposed bluff. In this brotherhood, we don't rush, we calculate. Every manipulator has two favorite tools, praise and guilt. One feeds your ego, the other feeds your conscience. Both are levers designed to control you. First comes praise. The flattery that sounds innocent but is anything but. "You're the only one I can trust. No one does it like you. You're amazing at this. Could you just..." They don't compliment you to celebrate you. They do it to recruit you. Each word is bait, and the moment your pride takes the hook, they own a piece of your behavior. Then comes guilt. The whisper of emotional debt. "After everything I've done for you." Or, "I guess I can't count on you anymore." That sentence isn't about fairness, it's about leverage. It activates the part of you that craves moral validation. And once guilt kicks in, logic dies. You rush to make things right, to restore balance that was never real in the first place. Both of these tactics work because of one biological fact: dopamine. Your brain rewards approval with the same chemical it releases for pleasure and success. Every compliment, every acknowledgement, every thank you triggers a small surge. Over time, you become addicted not to kindness itself, but to the feeling of being recognized. Manipulators know this. They don't need to dominate you directly. They just need to control when and how you receive that dopamine hit. So how do you break the cycle? You flip it. You reverse the reward. Instead of feeding the system, you remove the supply. When someone flatters you excessively, don't reject it. Just don't feed it. Respond with stillness, a polite nod, a short, thanks, or better yet, shift the topic entirely. No emotional return, no reward. You're signaling, I don't need your praise to know my value. When someone tries to guilt you, you can't help me after all I've done? Don't explain or justify. Explanations are oxygen for guilt. Just say, not this time. Calm. Final. No defense, no story. You've closed the door before the manipulation even starts. Let's see how this works in the real world. A coworker steals credit for your idea in a meeting, expecting you to defend yourself or lash out. You do neither. You simply redirect your acknowledgement elsewhere. Actually, the team contributed a lot on that project. You've just executed reward reversal. You deny them both your outrage and your attention, the two currencies manipulators crave most. They leave empty-handed, confused, and off balance. Or at home, a family member constantly guilt trips you for setting boundaries. You say no to a demand, and they sigh, wow, I guess family doesn't matter to you anymore. Most people take the bait, explaining, apologizing, offering compromise. You don't. You let silence hang. You continue your day as if nothing happened. Within minutes, the manipulator spirals, because the emotional script they rehearsed suddenly fails. This is the core of psychological dominance. You decide what gets rewarded. You decide which actions receive your energy and which ones die in silence. When you stop reacting, you reprogram the entire dynamic. It's not arrogance, it's sovereignty. Because when you no longer chase validation, your self-worth stops being negotiable. You become immune to both flattery and shame. Praise doesn't inflate you, and guilt doesn't move you. You own your state. And here's the twist most people miss. Manipulators need validation more than anyone else. Their survival depends on being seen, being acknowledged, being obeyed. So when you become the source of validation and then restrict it, when you control when, how, and if it's given, you own the psychological frame. They start chasing your approval instead. This is what true composure looks like in power dynamics. You're not fighting for attention anymore. You are the one who grants it. You're not playing in their game. You've become the game itself. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Virtue is its own reward." When your confidence comes from integrity, not applause, manipulation loses all access to you. You don't need to be liked to be at peace. You need only to remain aligned with your principles. That's the quiet transformation of reward reversal. It doesn't make you colder, it makes you untouchable. It doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you free. Remember this. Every time you choose not to react, not to explain, not to seek approval, you reclaim energy that was once being stolen. That's how you rebuild your power, not by demanding control, but by starving the illusion that anyone else ever had it. True power begins the moment you stop needing to prove it. Clarity makes you predictable, ambiguity makes you dangerous. Manipulators survive on patterns, your habits, your tone, your reactions. The more they can read you, the more they can plan around you. They watch the details, how fast you respond, when you smile, what questions make you hesitate. And once they have your pattern, they no longer need to overpower you. They can simply anticipate you. That's why your greatest defense isn't aggression. It's ambiguity. It's not about lying or pretending. It's about mastering the art of controlled vagueness, revealing just enough to stay human, but never enough to be mapped. Your ambiguity armor has 3 layers. Each one protects you on a different battlefield: your words, your body, and your presence. 1. Linguistic ambiguity. Speak with deliberate fog. Words are coordinates. When you speak with too much clarity, you hand people a map to your intentions. When you stay vague, you give them uncertainty, and uncertainty is power. When someone demands your opinion, don't rush to define it. Say, "I'm still thinking." When they press for your plans, say, "It depends on how things evolve." When they corner you with emotion, "What's wrong?" Say, "I'm processing." Short, calm, neutral. These phrases sound harmless, but they create a psychological vacuum that forces the other person to reveal more. Silence pulls truth out of people faster than confrontation ever will. Most will fill your quiet space with their own projections. their fears, their assumptions, their real motives. And while they talk, you learn. The less you reveal, the more they expose. 2. Physical ambiguity. Control your expressions. The human face is a broadcast station. Every micro-expression, the slight nod, the polite laugh, the raised eyebrows, sends data. Manipulators read it all like a code. They know when you're unsure, when you're flattered, when you're hurt. Your task: stop giving free information. Don't oversmile. Don't nod excessively. Don't rush to fill awkward pauses with laughter or reassurance. Keep your gaze steady but soft, your gestures minimal, your movements slow and precise. Stillness unsettles those who crave reaction. In a conversation, let your pauses stretch longer than usual. Let people wonder if you're unimpressed, unbothered, or just deep in thought. You don't have to act mysterious. Just stay calm enough that your composure becomes the mystery. This isn't emotional coldness, it's discipline. The Stoics called it temperantia, mastery of impulses, balance in the face of provocation. Seneca wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you master your face, your tone, your pace, you stop broadcasting your inner weather. You become the calm before every storm. 3. Relational ambiguity. Guard your access. Manipulators trade in information, and access is their currency. The closer they get, the more leverage they gain. So you create distance, not through withdrawal, but through control. You decide when, where, and how much of yourself to reveal. You don't owe people explanations for every silence. You don't need to share your next goal, your private struggles, or your plans for tomorrow. Keep some of your life unlabeled. Leave questions unanswered. Let curiosity do the work for you. In relationships, romantic, social, or professional, contrast builds intrigue. One day warm, the next unreadable. That contrast breeds respect. No one values what they fully understand. They value what they're still trying to figure out. The manipulator's illusion of intimacy fades when you stop giving them unlimited access. They mistake closeness for control until you show them that connection with you is earned, not assumed. This is the Machiavellian paradox. To stay powerful, you must remain partially unseen. Machiavelli advised rulers to be both lion and fox, force and cunning. The lion protects his territory, the fox hides his intent. Together, they rule. You don't have to roar to assert strength. You simply have to be unreadable enough that no one dares to guess wrong about you. Ambiguity is not weakness, it's deliberate uncertainty. It's a calm refusal to let others define your state. It doesn't mean you're hiding who you are, it means you're choosing when to be visible. Because here's the secret. When you speak less, people project more. When you explain less, they assume more. And in their attempt to understand you, they expose themselves. That's the essence of psychological control. The one who knows more but reveals less always leads. In conversations, in relationships, in leadership. Learn to be a question, not an answer. Let people guess, let them wonder, let them reveal. You are not cold, you are composed, you are not distant, you are disciplined, you are not vague, you are strategic. And in a world full of noise, your silence becomes the loudest signal. Every manipulator's power rests on a single illusion, that you won't leave. They build their entire control strategy around your fear of loss. They guilt you into staying, flatter you into compliance, or threaten abandonment to keep you tied to the script. Their leverage doesn't come from dominance. It comes from your attachment. Once you realize this, the game changes forever. Because the moment you truly can walk away, and mean it, every manipulator loses their oxygen. This is the core of power, the ability to exit without fear. It's not about being cold or heartless or detached from humanity. It's about reclaiming the freedom to choose. When you're no longer chained to approval, comfort, or control, you become impossible to manipulate. Manipulators feed on dependence, emotional, financial, or social. They measure how far they can push before you snap. They test your limits because they know most people cling to the connection, terrified of the silence that follows. But when you stop clinging, When you no longer explain or defend, something shifts. You become unpredictable, and that unpredictability terrifies them. That's the exit threat. It's not a threat you speak, it's a presence you project. The quiet, unwavering awareness that says, I'm here because I choose to be, not because I have to be. Let's make it real. In a toxic relationship, the manipulator constantly uses guilt to keep you submissive. You say no, and they sigh. So, you don't care about me anymore? You set a boundary, and they reply, I guess I'm not important to you. Every line is designed to trap you inside the cage of guilt, to make you prove your loyalty by sacrificing your peace. But one day you stop explaining, you stop defending, you just say, all right. Then you disappear for a while. No calls, no texts, no explanations. That silence will burn louder than any argument, because for the first time, they're not in control of the emotional current. You've withdrawn the oxygen they need, your reaction, your attention, your energy. This is what I call psychological oxygen control. In every relationship, personal or professional, there's an invisible exchange of attention. The person who controls that exchange controls the relationship. Manipulators need constant emotional oxygen, reassurance, defense, reaction. When you pull that oxygen away, the balance of power flips instantly. The same principle applies in the workplace. Imagine a manipulative boss or coworker who takes credit for your work or constantly undermines you. Most people fight back verbally, trying to prove fairness, but the strategist does something else. They document everything, stay composed, and quietly build options behind the scenes. Then one day, when the pattern repeats, they don't argue, they don't defend. They resign, not impulsively, but into a better opportunity they've prepared in silence. No warnings, no drama. Just calm exit. That is the ultimate form of control, leaving without needing permission. But here's the truth. The exit threat only works when it's real. You can't fake detachment. You have to earn it through discipline. That means 3 things. 1. Control your timing. Don't always be instantly available. Don't reply the moment someone demands your attention. Absence creates presence. When you manage your time, you remind others that your world doesn't revolve around them. They start valuing every interaction more, because they sense you could vanish at any moment. 2. Control your emotions. When someone disrespects you, don't flinch, don't defend, don't show hurt. Look calm, look finished. The manipulator's biggest fear isn't your anger, it's your indifference. Indifference is silence turned into power. 3. Control your independence. If someone controls your paycheck, your comfort, or your living situation, they control your choices. Build independence quietly. Financial strength, mental discipline, and emotional stability. These are the foundations of true detachment. Because when your survival doesn't depend on anyone, your presence becomes a choice, not a need. This is where the Stoics align perfectly. Detachment isn't about rejecting the world, it's about mastering it. It's not the absence of emotion, it's the freedom from being owned by emotion. Marcus Aurelius said, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." That's what detachment is. It's the decision to protect your peace above all else. Detach not because you don't care, but because you choose peace over chaos. The manipulator will always try to make you believe leaving means losing, but they're wrong. When you walk away with calm, you've already won. The exit threat isn't just a defense, it's evolution. It transforms you from a responder to a ruler, from a dependent to a sovereign. It reveals who respects your boundaries and who only respected your obedience. People will treat you differently once they sense you can walk away. They'll measure their words, reconsider their tone, and tread more carefully, not because you demanded it, but because you no longer need them to behave. That's the quiet intimidation of true power. The kind that doesn't raise its voice or make threats. It simply exists, like gravity. So remember, every moment you choose silence over argument, distance over chaos, composure over reaction, you're reinforcing the exit threat. You're teaching the world that your peace is not negotiable, And those who once tried to manipulate you will feel it. That cold realization that they can no longer reach you. Because power isn't the ability to control others, it's the ability to walk away, and mean it. If you walk away with calm, you've already won. There's a weapon more precise than a sharp retort, and more effective than a loud exposé, pretending not to see. The art of playing dumb is not stupidity, it is strategic invisibility. It's the practiced act of letting the game unfold while you sit 2 steps removed, cataloging moves, tone, and intent. When they believe they've fooled you, they drop their guard. That's when you collect the truth they never intended to show. Manipulators rely on rhythm. They create patterns and then pull the strings in time with those patterns. If you refuse to dance, if you don't mirror their tempo or match their provocations, they lose the beat. A person who can't predict you will panic or overextend. The trick is to let them reveal themselves by assuming ignorance, to be the quiet field where their arrogance and lies blossom and become visible. This strategy has the elegance of ancient warfare. Generals have feigned weakness for centuries to expose enemies' true positions. Show an apparent wound, let the opponent press forward, and then strike when their hubris and exposure are greatest. The ancient maxim, feign weakness to reveal the enemy, is the same in a boardroom, in a relationship, or across a text thread. You appear harmless, they expose the map of their strategy, and then you act with clarity and force. Use the 3-step structure to make this operational. 1. Observe. Before you act, watch. Notice patterns. What triggers them? When they escalate? What kind of language they use? Listen more than you speak. Document, mentally or literally, the sequence of events. Observation gives you the inventory of their tactics. Without this inventory, any counterattack is guesswork. 2. Feign ignorance. Now apply the mask. Pretend the provocation is nothing. Smile faintly. Change the subject. Offer a non-committal "huh" or a bland "okay." When they try to trap you with loaded comments, answer with neutral ambiguity, interesting or you don't say. Let them think they've got you measured. This is not cowardice, it's deliberate patience. You are letting them squander their position. 3. Strike with truth at the right moment. Victory in this strategy is not emotional, it is surgical. When the manipulator has exposed the pattern, when they've repeated themselves, escalated, or contradicted their story, present the proof calmly. Use the facts you collected. Confront without spectacle. You said X on Tuesday. Today you said Y. The shock is not in your anger, but in the clarity. They expected defense or confusion. Instead, they receive precision. At that moment, their credibility collapses because they built the scaffolding themselves. Patience is the highest form of strength. The Stoics taught the power of restraint, endurance, measured timing, the refusal to let impulse dictate conduct. Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius modeled patience as a kind of moral muscle. It's not passive, it's preparation. You don't rush to correct every slight. You store strength through calm. The person who can wait while remaining fully aware is the person who can deliver the decisive move. Playing dumb also preserves your dignity. When you expose someone only after their own pattern becomes evident, you avoid the trap of emotional escalation. The contrast between their frantic theatrics and your quiet, evidence-based reveal is devastating. They look petty, you look inevitable. There's another benefit: social corroboration. When you document and then disclose the pattern, witnesses tend to side with clarity. People respect someone who demonstrates control rather than someone who explodes. Your reveal becomes a reclamation of the narrative, not a vindictive performance. Finally, imagine the result as a metaphor. You become a ghost in their system, invisible while you study the machinery of their manipulation, unpredictable because you refuse to run on the scripts they know, and ultimately untouchable because you only act when action cannot be turned into reaction. That ghost haunts manipulators because it proves they were never in control of you. They were only acting out loud in a room no one else could see. When you master this, you no longer engage on their level. You make them exhaust themselves while you remain composed, patient, and precise. You don't win by force, you win by timing, by intelligence, and by the calm authority of someone who never needed to prove they were right. Comment, I am unreadable. I am untouchable. Power doesn't chase, it chooses. And now, so do you. You've walked through every layer of psychological warfare, from recognizing manipulation to mastering your mind. What began as survival has become strategy. You've moved from being the target to becoming the tactician. You no longer play their game. You define it. You've learned to mirror, not react, to make manipulators face their own reflection. You've learned to silence emotion and weaponize stillness. You've discovered the discipline of delay, how time itself can become your ally. You've flipped their favorite tricks through reward reversal, making them chase the validation they once used to trap you. You've built your ambiguity armor, learned to speak less, reveal less, and command more. You've embodied the exit threat, calm detachment as leverage, walking away not in anger, but in unshakable confidence. And finally, you've reached the master level, the quiet intelligence of playing dumb, watching, waiting, revealing truth only when it cannot be denied. Each of these tactics isn't just a defense. Together they form a way of life, a stoic way of power. Because in the end, Stoicism was never about suppressing emotion. It was about mastering response. It's not about becoming cold, but becoming calculated. It's not about being distant, but being discerning. A Stoic doesn't let chaos dictate his peace. He stands where others flinch. He moves when others react. He chooses when others chase. You've seen how manipulators use your empathy as a weakness, your patience as an entry point, your openness as a target. But now you know the countermeasure. Calm clarity. That's what separates the ones who are controlled from the ones who command. Remember this. The mind trained in stillness cannot be manipulated. The person who controls their timing cannot be rushed. The one who can walk away without fear cannot be owned. This is not about building walls. It's about building fortress discipline, a state of mind where no one enters without permission. The Stoic masters knew this truth. True peace and true power are the same thing. Peace without discipline collapses under pressure. Power without virtue corrupts itself. But the balance, calm power, disciplined peace, is unshakable. So as you stand here, sharper, calmer, and more aware than before, understand this. The game is no longer against them. It's against your old self, the one that over-explained, overreacted, overgave. That version of you is gone. What remains is stillness sharpened into strength. From now on, you no longer react, you command. You no longer seek, you attract. You no longer explain, you decide. You don't chase validation, you emanate value. You don't fear loss, you understand detachment. You don't fight for control, you are control. This is the point where emotion becomes clarity and silence becomes signal. This is the transformation every manipulator fears. A person they can no longer read, no longer trigger, no longer own. The Stoic warrior doesn't raise his voice. He raises his standard. He doesn't destroy his enemies. He dissolves their power through indifference. So when someone tries to test you next time, don't react. Watch, wait, reflect. Because you're not proving you're strong anymore. You're proving you can't be moved. Power doesn't chase, it chooses. And today, it's choosing you. If you choose to walk the true Stoic way, subscribe now. Not for comfort, but for command. Not for peace, but for power.